Hello everybody, Yom Tov. It's Thursday and here I am with full apologies for not putting out your folk tales for you yesterday on Wednesday. But look, here's the deal. Unfortunately these days it doesn't matter about the amount of housework that I do, because I suffer from 24-hour chronic pain, right? I'm not going to bore you all with it, you already know this. But Tuesday I had this burst of energy, right? Which doesn't happen to me very often these days. And I took full advantage of it. And as you know, we've been decorating the kitchen. Well, the kitchen is completely finished now. I'm very, very happy to say. You know, I know to previous viewers it probably doesn't look any different, but you can tell because the walls are a slightly lighter shade of purple than they were before. Plus, if you look behind me, you can see they're shiny. And that's because they've had vinyl silk paint put on them now. As before it was matte and it was quite dull. And that makes it easier to wipe clean. So anyway, that's done. So, Tuesday, because we'd finished with all the brushes and everything, although my husband said leave it, I took it upon myself to clean all the brushes that had been used and the paint trays and all that sort of job, so they're ready for the next job. I then had my husband's shirts to wash and iron. That's normally okay, I can cope with that. But I'd bought a pair of curtains to hang at the window, and they were more badly creased than I thought they were going to be when I took them out of the packet. I've got this hair sticking on my lip and it's really annoying. Anywho, I was pressing down really hard with the iron. It's not a brand new iron. I've had it for about 5 years, and it's one of those irons where you don't have to think about it. Honestly, this hair is seriously getting on my nose. I don't know where it's coming from. Anyway, sorry, I'm just not comfy today. And it took a lot longer to iron this pair of curtains. And I really threw sort of my arms and wrists and shoulders and everything into it. And that was in the morning, Tuesday morning, about lunchtime by the time I finished that. There was other few little odds and sods to do around. Normally nothing that anybody would think about. By the time 6-7 o'clock came on Tuesday night, I was starting to seize up. And I got to about 9 out of 10. You know, I've had days that go up to 11, and believe me, they are not fun, because those days I cry, right? But on Tuesday night I got up to about a 9, and I felt that my immediate pain relief wasn't working quickly enough. So I took a few more sips of Oromorph than I should have done, which unfortunately has the knock-on effect of leaving me prostrate in bed for at least 24 hours afterwards until it gets out my system. But as it was when I went to try and get out of bed on Wednesday, I was so stiff and so sore that I just couldn't. So I was in bed all day Wednesday, and I didn't get back online till early this morning. And that's when the news hit me. And now I'm going to get on to the reason why I'm making this video. You know that Gary and I of Bipolar Corner and Gary Unfiltered, we've become very close in the course of the last year. And when I first started this channel, even well before it became The Haven, or became known as The Haven, I told all of you that Gary and Eric of Dr1ven Industries were both stand-up guys. They were both great advocates for the mental health community, that I gave them my wholehearted support, and that, you know, to be quite honest with you, I always would, because I didn't see anything else changing. And call me, you know, naive, what have you. I've not been involved with mental health with regard to this capacity before. You know, I started off as a channel where I wanted to make people smile and laugh. by doing daft things and telling daft stories and things like this. If anybody had said to me a year on that, and I don't call myself an advocate for mental health, probably other people would, I don't know. The reason why I do what I do with particular reference to the stories is I'm trying to give the people who have subscribed to me a bit of escapism, a little bit of fantasy, something where they can switch off and just delve into. So that took the form of the folk tales, and that took the form of the spooky sessions. And all right, great, you know, I don't get as many people watching as I used to, but it doesn't matter. We've got a hardcore following, and I'll keep it going until the last man standing. If people want it, I will keep on doing it. But that's why I do what I do. I want to try and help people. Now, because I've got no training in mental health, all I have is life experience. That's it. I am not a therapist. Nothing like that. I've got no accreditations. I've got no training. I've got an A-level in psychology taken over 30 years ago. 40 years ago, actually, now. Well, about 40 years ago. So it's a long time, and an awful lot of things have changed in that time. But I know what makes me happy, and I know what makes me sad, and I know what makes me depressed. And sometimes I don't know what makes me depressed. It just comes over me like a great big heavy hood. And I've had some pretty traumatic life experiences. So I know that I can relate to people in certain circumstances. Okay? And that's all I have to offer. I wish I could do more. And I do listen to people. I do get messages from Haveners, subscribers, Twitter followers, telling me things which are under strictest confidentiality. And I think they just want someone to listen, which takes me back to what I was talking about on Monday, was the art of listening. So that's something else I can do. But as for making videos about mental health, I can't do that, because I'm just not qualified to do anything like that. And if anybody was to ask me something, I would have to refer them on to either finding a therapist of their own or somebody in that field that they could talk to properly, because I'm certainly not the person for that. Anyway, like I say, about a year ago, or maybe just a little bit longer, I came across Gary and I came across Eric. And I've always found, well, in the beginning, I always found that Gary was more than happy to listen to me if there was something I had a problem with regard to myself, not him. But he was always there for me and he would listen. Eric always said that he was there, but I didn't have the same kind of relationship with him. So I put us on a friendly acquaintances kind of level. But Gary and I were starting off with a friendship, to which I'm very, very proud and happy to say that today I love the guy to bits. I think he's absolutely amazing. I do. Because he is a true advocate for mental health. And he does suffer from his own mental health issues. And yet he wants so much to help people, and he does. Now, I honestly thought that Eric was cut of the same cloth as Gary. And I truly did believe that. And I believed it more or less up till yesterday. I'd seen a few comments here and there about Eric doing things that maybe quite weren't right, but because my health makes me unreliable, I can't always guarantee to be online at the right time in the right place to catch things. If it doesn't come up on my timeline, if it's not there in my notifications, I won't tend to see it. And that's the truth. And as you know, I'm not on Twitter a huge amount of time anyway, because I spend time on Facebook with my friend Lorraine, who isn't doing very well. But that's for another time. Anyway, I watch all of Gary's videos, obviously. I'll catch some of Eric's as and when I can. Some of it's on topics that I know nothing about, so I just leave him to it. But Gary put this video out, and I watched it this morning, and I'll be quite honest with you, I was absolutely shocked, horrified, disgusted, and very disappointed. And I did put out a tweet earlier saying how I felt, and that all these things were, putting it mildly. And as I've gone on with my day and thinking about the video that Gary put up with all the clips from TikTok, it's just made me feel even more sick to my stomach, because I realise now that I thought I knew Eric, and I obviously didn't. I didn't know he had this side to him. You know, there were so many things wrong with those clips. And you know, I don't work with a script. I should have made bullet points and gone down them, but I haven't, because I'll ended up putting them away, putting them to one side, not being able to find them. So I always just speak from the heart, right? And I'm just going to carry on doing it this way, because this is how I am. I mean, to go to a hotel room with a 20-year-old girl, doesn't matter whether she's a fan of yours or not, to do a live stream, you could have picked somewhere else, you know? And I suppose, I know I'm talking to all of you, but I suppose in a way I'm sort of talking to Eric as well, just in case he watches this, because his name is in the title and he's going to probably watch it. And I hope he does, because I want him to hear this from me. You could have had that live stream in a coffee bar, you know, a little cafe somewhere. You could have been sitting in your car next to where a lot of people were milling about. There were so many other alternatives to where you could have had that live. But to book a hotel room, I don't know whether it was a hotel or a motel or what, but to book a hotel room, even just to have something to eat with a girl who's 20 going on 21. Now, I know she was an adult, but this girl said herself that he was an icon of hers. And he said he was, you know, he was hanging out with a fan. But the first thing that jarred me was, the first thing that comes up in the video is when somebody says, "What's your favourite hobby?" And keeping in mind the audience is from like 13 upwards. For Eric to say, sex, my favourite hobby is sex. That was, as the young girl said, completely inappropriate. He could have chosen a myriad of other things. He could have said reading. He could have said YouTube videos. He could have said, I don't know, making wooden dolls. I mean, I don't know. But you don't say to an audience that contains minors that your favourite hobby is sex. You just don't. It's totally and utterly inappropriate. Then people were asking if this was our father. And oh no, there was a bit before that where he saw her on the corner and he was trying to pimp her out for $200. And you could see the discomfort in her face when he said that. Now, this may be a joke, and maybe I just don't get the humour. But when you meet somebody for the first time, you don't automatically come out with a sex joke. It's just not the right thing to do. You're just supposed to say something like, I was visiting somewhere for work and I bumped into this girl who I know from TikTok, who I know watches all my stuff. And, you know, we're sitting here in a coffee bar, having a live, showing us hanging out together, and we'll answer some of your questions. But it was just everything about this encounter, for me, was screaming out, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is just not right. And he was making a joke about who's your daddy, and then the clip of the song from Sweet Child of Mine from Guns N' Roses, which I thought was inappropriate. And having the father-daughter thing and saying, oh, it's father and daughter makes it easier. Come on. Nobody does the, oh, I'm just here with my daughter in a hotel anymore. Nobody falls for that anymore. So that, for me, was inappropriate. You should have made it very, very clear. No, this is a fan of mine, and we've talked on TikTok or over my live streams, and we've bumped into each other, and this is just us hanging out. But as I said, not in a hotel room. That in itself was just off for me. No, that should not have happened. Then there was the questions. And the first one that made me angry, very angry and upset, was, how do I message you privately? I want to know how to do that, because my parents don't want me to talk to you. Now, I don't know whether it was said, we don't want me to talk to you, or because they don't like you, or they just don't want me to talk to you. And he comes back and says, hit me up on Instagram. No, the right answer, Eric, is, look, it's one of two answers. At least it is to me. And I'm speaking as a parent. You say, and I've actually said in one of my videos way back when, if someone younger than 18 came to me and said, Heather, I want to talk to you in private about something, but my parents don't really want me talking to you, but I really need to talk to you. My answer would have been, look, either ask your parents to watch my videos and come to a conclusion about me themselves, or please ask them to message me. But I am not talking to you in private until I have your parents' permission. It's just not happening. If your parents have said no, then the answer has got to be no, I can't. You know, and you just don't. You're undermining, you know, the parents' rules. And that kid's parents, I don't know whether it was a male or a female, but that kid's parents had said to them, no, we don't want you talking to them. And so, Eric, your answer should have been either get your parents to message me, or get them to watch some of my videos to make a judgment about me. And then if after that they say, you know, okay, we'll let you talk to them, then I'll go ahead and talk to you. Eric should never have said, hit me up on Instagram, because then it completely undermines the parental authority. And I was very angry about that. And being a human being, if I'd been anywhere near him, if I lived stateside, and if either one of my kids who had been 13, 14, anything up to 17 at that time, had done that, and you'd allowed it, and I hadn't been informed, I think I would have gone for you. I really think I would have attacked you. Because that's a side of me I don't like. But if anybody hurts my children, I go into sort of like, I want to rip you apart mode. And I'm not saying this is not a threat of violence. I'm just saying that that's how I would react. I would go ballistic. I would rip you a new one. Because I would be thinking, how dare you undermine my authority? If I've told my child no, and you go ahead and talk to them and undermine my authority, you are bang out of order. You don't do that. Again, it's completely and totally inappropriate. And then there's this other thing. Another person asks you a question. Now, it's not made clear if this person is a minor or an adult. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, it's a 15, 16-year-old. Boy, girl, we're not sure. And they say, how do you get over a breakup? What do you do? If somebody that young asked me outright, Heather, how do you get over a breakup? My first response would be, well, I'm sorry that you've had this breakup. It must be particularly hard for you. I would take this time to focus on yourself. Be single. Don't throw yourself back out to the dating scene straight away, because you can do things on the rebound and regret it. Just spend some time being by yourself. Don't be in a relationship. Hang out with your friends. Go to some nice parties. You know, everything's legal. Just be yourself. Build your self-confidence back up. And then when you feel ready to date again, that's when you do. You certainly don't bounce straight back in, because you could get hurt twice as much, or you could end up hurting somebody else. What does Eric say? Get under somebody else. That just blew my mind. That completely blew my mind. And the reason why I found that particular bit so unsettling is because, first off, I've never been on TikTok. I've never used it. I don't intend to. I see it as a thing for kids to go on to show their singing and their dancing and little odds and sods like that. And I wouldn't know how to use it anyway. Probably seen as too old, I suppose. But I have enough on my hands with the Haven, popping in to see how our Haven Facebook group is going, being on Twitter, and being on Facebook with my friend Lorraine. That's enough internet for me. And I'll be dead honest with you. My husband thinks I spend more than enough time on the internet. He would not be happy if I found something else on the internet to occupy my time, which takes my focus away from him. So he's happy with what I'm doing at the moment, but he wouldn't want me doing any more. So that's that. But from what I gather of TikTok, it's an awful lot of it is 18s and under. So there are impressionable children use that site. And Eric, you are a 39-year-old married man. What kind of impression are you giving? You are supposed to be a mental health advocate. You know, when you put yourself out there on a particular platform, at least this is how I feel, and I'm not saying this is how you should feel or anybody else should feel, but I've said right from the start, I am no different to how I am if anybody walked in through my front door and sat themselves down at my kitchen table. I am no different. You've seen me in a live stream. I am no different. I'm exactly the same person. Right? But when you're on a public platform and people are looking at you and listening to what you say and watching what you do, and especially when it's with regard to mental health, which has a bad enough stigma around it as it is, you've got to set yourself to a higher standard. You know, you've got people looking up to you and hoping to be led by you and helped by you. But these clips, who are you helping? Yourself. And coming out with the things that you have done smells predatory to me. Now, I may be looking into it far too much, but this just feels wrong. All of it's wrong. And you know something? I am so glad, and I feel awful for Gary that he had to go through and find these clips. I'm not saying that Gary deliberately went through, sorting through and finding them. No. I'm just sorry that he had to see these things. And I'm sorry that, you know, he would have to have endured the same feelings of disgust that I'm feeling. But I'm grateful to him for making the video, to be honest, because it's now opened my eyes to the fact that I feel sick at promoting someone and still telling people that I'm a fan of someone who I didn't know had these behaviours and I didn't know behaved in these ways. Excuse me. Usual fibro sniffles. The other thing that really disgusted me was about the boy called CGKid, I believe, young man, who is fresh out of rehab, and he'd had a relapse. He went into rehab, and the day after he came out of rehab, Eric collabed with him. And then Eric gave off the impression that he was bragging about what he did in private with his third wife with regard to using drugs. And he was very specific in how he described what he was doing and how it felt. That to me was a massive red flag, because he's talking about how great it felt having done certain things in a particular sexual way in front of a very vulnerable young man who relapsed and has just come out of rehab. He's reminding him about, whoa, those are the good times on cocaine. How does he know that hadn't triggered him into just sitting on his own and thinking, you know what, one last time? I mean, he started off the collab well by saying it wasn't about promoting drugs. And this is where I'm going to say that Gary's been very, very fair, because the bits that Eric got right, Gary was straight up there with, that's the right thing to do. Yes, that's what you're supposed to say. So he was, as quick as he was to point out these failings in Eric's character and behaviour, Gary is just as quick to praise. And that's one of the things I love about him, because he's so eminently fair. He's very fair. And I was also reminded of something else. And I never thought I'd ever say this, but it was something Leafy Green said in one of her videos, that she didn't trust Eric around 14-year-old girls. Now, at the time when she was saying that, I put that down to her being off her medication, because she was pregnant. So I just thought, she's reaching. There's nothing in it. She's probably seen him being over friendly with a teen, and it's got blown out of proportion. I need to say this, in my honest personal opinion, I think there was probably some truth in her words. Predatory. And I don't know. I can neither prove nor disprove. All I can go on is what I've seen. And, you know, apparently there are more clips that Gary's found. One of them, which anybody can find, which is of Eric and this young woman that he met jumping up and down on the hotel bed. I don't know what that was meant to achieve, but if she has met him through being an advocate for mental health, then he certainly let himself down, and very badly. I feel so shocked by the whole situation that I have unfollowed him on Twitter. I have unsubscribed from his YouTube channel, and I no longer want anything to do with him. He's broken the rule of going against parental authority, and that to me is a no-go area. You just don't do that. And it's made me angry, and it's made me upset. I'm extremely disgusted at his advice on how to get over a breakup. I'll be quite honest with you, I was disgusted at the way he delved into his private life and use of drugs. I don't think it was appropriate that time to talk about that. I don't think it was the right thing to say or do with a young man who is so fragile on his first day out of rehab. I think he could have triggered him. I hope it hasn't. And I want to say this to you, Eric. I am so disappointed in you. I feel so let down. You know, I sat here on my first days on YouTube and was telling everybody to go and see Gary and go and see you. I did not know that you had this side to you. There were so many other things that you could have said in those clips, in that hotel room with that young woman, which to me personally, you should have been somewhere outside where there was human traffic. There should have been people going about, milling about. You could still have had a live stream going with that girl. And it would have looked a damn sight more innocent, whether it was, and if you were to come back and say, I don't know what you're getting on your high horse for, it was just two people hanging out in a hotel room. Shall I tell you something? If, say, in some fantasy world, Gary and I were able to meet up together for the first time, and then immediately do a live stream to broadcast to all our, because we've got subscribers and followers in common. There is no way either of us would rent a hotel room and broadcast from there. I can tell you that right now. I know that Gary wouldn't do it. And I can tell you now, if I did it, I'd have my husband to answer to. Because the only man I should ever be in a hotel room with, well, two, should either be my husband or my son. If I'm in a hotel room with any other man, then my husband would have some questions for me. So it would never happen. If Gary and I were to meet up, we'd go and I'd say to him, where's the nearest coffee shop? Pair of us can sit down, get a donut, cup of coffee, and then we'll put up our phones, make a video, or pop on a quick live from our phones, or you can do that, and we'll just sit and have a chat, say hi everybody, and that's the way it's done. Hotel rooms are tacky. If you like that with going, who's your daddy? No. Everything about it is just so wrong. Eric, you are not who I thought you were. I am disassociating myself from you as from this moment forward. And I know you've got hundreds of thousands of followers or what have you. But you're doing things that in my view are just horrifically wrong. I mean, there was something that happened on your Discord, wasn't it, that I heard about? You got rid of a lovely girl called Lola Bohemia, and you ended up replacing her with a convicted paedophile. Now, how that slipped through the cracks, I don't know. But I was told that when you were questioned about it, you were very flippant. If I had teenage children now, Eric, I wouldn't allow them anywhere near you. I would defy them to have anything to do with you. Because you've shown that you have no respect for parental authority at all. I thought you did. I thought you understood it was this unwritten rule that parental authority comes first, but not according to you. No, I'm sorry. No. As far as I'm concerned, and I've never had to do this ever in my life, ever, I'm withdrawing my support from you. And I don't really want to ever talk about you again because you disgust me. You're a grown man. And if you're still married, which I presume you are, do you think your wife would have been humiliated? Does she know about that TikTok? Does she know what you were talking about that was inappropriate? Because I'm telling you now, if I'd been your wife in that situation, I would have been humiliated. And if you are still married, then I feel very, very sorry that your wife has to put up with you and your antics. I don't know quite what else to say. I just feel sick. I feel disgusted. I feel angry, upset, disappointed, extremely let down. I have trust issues as it is. I honestly thought, that Eric could be trusted. But it can't. And like I say, always, everything that I've said is my personal opinion, but based on fact of things I've seen in front of my very eyes via video. So I'm sorry this has been so long and drawn out, guys, but I had to do something. I wanted to support Gary I didn't want him to feel sort of like a voice calling in the wilderness. I feel bad that he was calling as a voice in the wilderness for so long about he who should not be named, because nobody will believe him. And if Gary calls somebody out, then he's got a damn good reason. He's not out to cause trouble. He's not out to upset anybody, but he does want to protect people. I think he's extremely brave. And I will stand by my friend. What Gary did, putting that video out, was the right thing to do, to let the rest of us know. And if there are any parents watching me who have teenagers, just be wary, please, of Dr1ven Industries. Because, like I said, it's just all my opinion. Allegedly for entertainment purposes only, eh? I just feel sick. I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to have to go. I'll be back, and I will be back tomorrow night with your spooky sessions, and it's going to be the start of your supernatural fanfic. And the episodes are quite long, but if you want me to, I'll read 2 to get you in the swing, because there's loads of them. Right, take care, guys. I love you all. Thank you for listening to me, and thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. Take care of yourselves and be kind to each other. And by the way, please don't send any hate to Eric. Just because I've decided not to associate with him anymore, I'm not sending him any hate, but I'm letting him know how let down I feel. And he's let down an awful lot of people. But that doesn't mean to say that he deserves to get any hate. So please don't do that. Certainly not in my name. If you have something to say to him, I feel I've done it quite respectfully. I've not called him any names, but I've told him how he's made me feel. So anyway, those are just my thoughts, as always. Take care. Later. Bye-bye.